Never fear, I am here. Hi. Look, I'm burning a candle. Only at one end, though. How are my beauties tonight? What'd you guys think of my other live read? Whoop, whoop. Pretty good, I thought. Hey, Fancy Hoo! How are you, darling? Is she supposed to do her cover reveal at 8 or 9, Nina? Than I thought. I thought it was good. Where's Miss Trisha? Is she gonna be here? At 9, okay. Where's Miss Trisha from? Neener Beaner. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? See, I'm technically wearing a white shirt, Nina. So that's why he was so horny. Or I was horny. One of us was horny because he was running around naked and I was running around naked to get. So I guess between the two of us running around naked, we were both probably horny. Vincey's going, what the hell are you talking about? One of those games that Nina put out there or something. Somebody put a game out there. And it was, you pick your last name, first name, which, I don't know, all that crap. And I know I had to pick a shirt color. Well, camo wasn't on there, so I picked white because it's the base color. And so apparently I was streaking with a naked man because I was horny. So, Nina, you better check on your girl. She might not be able to get on, so you might want to check on her. If she's never been on here before, she might not, because there's 4 people out there, so that's you 2 plus 2 more. I give it 2 more minutes, and then I'm gonna have to start reading because I got a late start. I had to go pee. Ooh, hello, Johnny Kane. He needs to go to. You can say, Trisha, are you here all you want, but if she can't comment, she can comment. Fancy, I'm going to tag you in this one, girl, because you're going to like this one. Although I ain't real keen on them peach shorts. Real men can wear pastel colors, just not as underwear. especially if they're tidy-whitey style underwear. Oh, damn, there's 21 pictures of him. God, that second picture. Oh, and the third. Ooh, that fourth. Yeah. Ooh, the fifth. Movie hand, baby doll. Mm. Oh. Mm. Oh, he never. Oh, Toddy Whitey's never looked so good. Uh-huh. Mm. If I ever had a son, he should have looked like that. But then I might want to do naughty things with him, and that would just be wrong. Damn. Oh, camo. I got camo. You got camo. We match. We need to mate. Damn. I'll clean you up, baby. I am going to go into the naked group, and I'm looking. I just shared it over there. So that's the first picture. That's the second. There's apparently like 25 pictures of him. Yeah. So go check him out. Hellfire. I'll just share him to you, Pebbles. I sent him to you, Messenger. Yeah. Damn, there's a bunch of pebbles in there. But you're the only one. You welcome, my sister. Kane, something Kane. What was his name? Johnny Kane. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And once Nina finds her wayward author, who's probably here, just can't comment because that's the way my life goes around here. Alrighty. So, On Ice, a hockey romance by Trisha Harley McCarthy. And there's that. Look at that nipple. I want to lick that nipple. Nina, I seen him. You can't have him. Okay. This book doesn't come with any warnings. You guys are doing good. Okay. Prologue. Zoe. I still remember his last words. I can't wait to make you mine in every sense of the word, he whispered in my ear, and then thrust into me and with such vigor that I nearly lost consciousness. Then the unthinkable happened. Everything came to a crashing halt. Even to this day, I was still in a daze. 3 years ago. 2 nights had passed since I'd last seen Kai. We'd been discussing our wedding day while our arms and legs were entangled as sighs of love, our future, and pleasure through the hotel suite, echoed through the hotel suite. I'd come to find out Killian Connery, good Irishman, was a man of few words. Ooh, I'm going to pretend like he's the grandson of Sean. Oh, yeah. Well, my age, he could probably be grandson of Sean or the son of Sean. Anyway, whether it was by elevating me to new heights of passion with his wicked tongue or by slamming an opponent into the boards, Kyle was a larger than life. He was a guy men envied and women lusted after. After all, who could resist a 6'4" wall of muscle with mesmerizing gray eyes and tousled raven hair? His presence was so magnetic. It pumped up the fans before he even set foot in the ice rink. No one was immune, not even I, when I first set eyes on him at the San Jose Otters training camp during his rookie year. Ever since then, I kept track of him, his career, stats, watched every game, and basically acted like your garden variety stalker on the sly. Luckily, one of my primary functions as assistant to the GM was maintaining the roster. My heart lurched in my chest just thinking about the day I met the new rookie. I was in the owner's box watching their practice, and there came Killian Connery sprinting across ice in that blue and white jersey that was almost too small for a man his size. He was a thing of beauty, if one could classify such a magnificent specimen as beautiful. Number 88, too, as fate would have it, 2 times my lucky number. And fate didn't stop there. I was in the manager's office when Flynn Austin, captain of the Otters, came bursting through the door with Kai in his footfalls. Flynn was laughing at something Kai had said. The sheer size of the 2 defense players made the office look about as big as a shoebox. I looked up from my paperwork and locked eyes with the rookie's steely, inquisitive gaze. Oh my. My mouth went dry, and I lost my ability to form a coherent thought. Joe sent for us, Kai spoke softly. His voice was quiet and deeply masculine. Joe, I squeaked. I sounded like a pubescent boy at choir practice. You know, the general manager. Kai leveled a smile at me that could blot out the sun. Holy shit. Flynn chuckled at my obvious discomfort. Asshole. I cleared my throat, squirmed in my seat, took a drink of tea. Killian Connery gave me a once-over. My cheeks reddened. If there had been any doubt in my mind before, I now knew for sure. I was in deep water with this man. He won't be back today. Can I help you? I looked past Kai, fixating on a spot to his right. Are you playing the secretary? Flynn asked, amusement dancing in his blue eyes. I bristled at the insinuation. He knew perfectly well what I was, unless he had gotten smacked in the head one too many times. I wouldn't be surprised, given how he spent more time in the sand bin than on the ice. No, I'm the assistant to the general manager, I said. My spine was ramrod straight as I stared Flynn down. Kai prodded him in the ribs. He grunted, much to my satisfaction. I hadn't busted my ass at college to be classified as a secretary by the team's biggest man whore. Don't mind my buddy here. He doesn't know how to act around a lady. Kai gave me an apology grin. That's all right. Flynn and I are old friends, aren't we? I ran a cool gaze over him. At least Flynn had the decency to look embarrassed for his assholery. I still hadn't forgiven him for what he did to my best friend. Flynn Austin was a player in every sense of the word. So what if his gorgeous blue eyes made women want to toss him their panties? He had the mortals of an alley cat, which was an insult to those poor cats. How's Jessie, by the way? My mouth fell open. Jessie had cried on my shoulder for weeks after the breakup, and he had the audacity to ask me about her. Are you fucking serious right now? You did not just ask me about the woman whose heart you broke, did you? I think I just did. Flynn sneered at me. She is off limits, I said, and felt my stare harden with equal parts defiance and determination. No way I was letting that philanderer anywhere near her again. Flynn crossed his hands over his chest. I think that's for Jesse to decide. I got up and rounded the desk, halting my steps mere inches from him. Stay the fuck away from her. There, that's better. Oh, I lost my place. Oh, I said, poking that massive torso. Or what? Are you going to run to Daddy? Fuck you. He knew being the owner's daughter was a sore subject with me. I never used my relationship with my father to further my career. Unlike some, I could separate business from my personal life, and when it came to Jesse Ward, it was personal. I refused to stand by and allow Flynn to stomp on my friend's heart again. Flynn, wait outside, Kai said quietly before blood spilled. Flynn's, if I had my way. We glared at one another until that cocky, blue-eyed jock conceded and left the office. I'll see you around, man. I'll see you outside, man, he said to Kai before they shut the door. I'm sorry about Flynn. He's not all to blame, though. Isn't he? I sounded more bitter than I cared for, but Flynn Austin really knew how to rile me up. From what he told me, he didn't cheat on your friend. Right, and I'm Cinderella. Kai chuckled. You're certainly as captivating. My cheeks warmed and I murmured something incoherent. Seriously, though, Flynn didn't cheat on her. Some chick he used to date started the rumor. When it hit the tabloids, things imploded for Flynn, and Jesse broke it off with him. Kai said, his brow lining with earnest. He's really into your friend. In fact, deep down, I think he might actually love her. I see, I mumbled as I contemplated his words. I'd never heard that side of the story before, only what Jesse had told me. If what Kai said was true, and I didn't see any reason for him to lie, I may have overstepped my bounds. I'm sorry if I jumped to conclusions about Flynn. It's just that Jessie didn't do well after the breakup, and I feel protective of her. I understand. Kai smiled and closed the distance between us. The heat from his body sent shivers up my spine. He reached out and tucked a wayward piece of hair behind my ear. My knees went weak, and the lack of pouncing prowess was probably the only thing that kept me from throwing myself at him. I was sure he had lots of eager puck bunnies at his beck and call. All he had to do was crook his finger and they would come running. My gaze landed on his sensual lips, curved into a hint of a smile. I wondered what they would feel like against mine. He pulled back and the spell was broken. Would you consider going out with me sometime? He asked. Who, what? I nodded mutely, shocked by the turn of events. Is that a yes, Zoe? My name rolled off his tongue like fine wine, smooth and heady. Fire shot through my veins before I could stop myself. My mind was drifting in and out of fantasies involving me and that tongue of his. Yes, Kai, I'll go out with you. I blinked rapidly. He pecked my cheek. I'll be in touch. It hit me like a lightning bolt. Kai Connery was the man I was going to marry one day. Thinking about him sent my heart into a free fall. I let out a bitter laugh. Everything went to hell when I received a single text message on my wedding day. Zoe, I can't go through with it. Present day. I eased upright in bed. My nightie was drenched with sweat again. Dreams of Killian Connery and that damn text he sent had become less frequent over the years, but yesterday's email triggered them all over again. Kai was returning to San Jose in a trade with Detroit. The shock of the announcement led me to realize that I still loved him, and it annoyed the hell out of me. I craved normal, not heartache. I wanted the past to stay in the recesses of my mind where it belonged. Yet fate had other ideas of throwing Kai back into my life. I decided to leave early to process it all, ignoring several calls and texts from my father, the instigator of this entire fiasco. He'd had no problem with passing on Kai's contract after our split, despite the fact that Kai was the team's pride and joy. It was the sole time I could recall my father making a business decision based on emotion. Now, 3 years later, Kai was back, and I could no longer hide from my past or the truth. My reckless heart skipped a beat with each thought of Kai, while my mind rebelled at the circumstances that thrusted him back into my life. Kai. Connery, Jim wants to see you, Coach Sproul shouted from the doorway of the locker room. Shit. I never figured I'd be back in San Jose again, ever. I knew it hadn't been a coincidence when my contract came up for renewal right after my split with Zoe. Because of some freak trade, the Otters opted on my contract for a better draft position for the upcoming season. I now found myself back home in the thick of things where I had left my heart. I had plenty of time to go over the events in my mind that led to my being jilted at the altar without an explanation. Zoe had disappeared without a trace, and I had no way of reaching her. I learned later that her father had whisked her out of the country to some unknown destination. In the blink of an eye, I'd been abandoned and traded. The life I knew was no longer mine. Just thinking about her sent a fresh dose of sorrow straight to my heart. Fortunately, I'd learned to hide it, especially from Jessie. She deserved my loyalty and love since she picked up the pieces of my shattered life after Zoe dumped me. I scrubbed my hand through my hair in frustration and apprehension. Rumor had it Zoe was dating Flynn, my former best friend and Jess's ex. What a damn mess. Chase Winston, my agent, reiterated. Why? I knew that was going to have. It's not clicking in my head. The stipulations of my contract with the Otters organization. I had no say in the trade. If I didn't agree, I would be in breach of contract. I found myself between a rock and a hard place with no way out. I'd fallen from grace with the Otters organization. 1 minute I was team captain, leading scorer in the Western Conference and marrying the owner's daughter. The next banished to Detroit and into obscurity. I tossed my towel in the bin and finished dressing. The locker room was mostly deserted since I'd stayed after training to continue some relentless drills in the hopes of wearing myself out. The more tired I was, the less my mind had a chance to wander. I hit the button on the elevator to the executive suites on the 4th floor. I was lost in my own thoughts when I heard laughter. Her laughter. I froze in place and closed my eyes. I knew I should ignore the temptation and not turn my head in the direction of the voices headed my way. Thankfully, the elevator door opened and I stepped in. Before it closed, I caught a glimpse of her, Zoe Simmons, the love of my life, holding hands with Flynn Austin. The shock of seeing her again opened the gaping wound in my heart. Pain I wasn't prepared to live through again. The worst part of it all, I hadn't had any closure. No explanation, no nothing, just silence. As if fate was intent on toying with my emotions, Zoe glanced my way. She stopped short. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. Our eyes met for no more than a heartbeat before the door shut, cutting off our contact. I leaned my head back against the elevator wall and stilled myself against the riot of feelings churning in my gut. The mere sight of Zoe sent me into a tailspin. The elevator doors opened. Thank fuck. I couldn't escape this private hell that my life had become soon enough. I would meet with Joe and get the hell out of here. Thank God for Jessie. She taught me life went on, and so did the beating of my battered and broken down heart. Damn, I didn't realize being back would be so hard. Seeing Zoe brought it all back like it was yesterday, our wedding day, the day we planned to pledge our love and forever after, surrounded by friends and family. For some masochistic reason, I turned away my marriage vow. I tucked away my marriage vows, my last tie to Zoe, in the past. I couldn't bring myself to part with them out of some misguided sense of devotion to her. Even now, my heart betrayed my mind. Why couldn't I sever ties completely? Something held me back every time. As I approached the door to Joe Wharton's office, I knew that once I crossed this threshold, I was stepping back in time and risked being pulled back into Zoe Simmons' orbit. You guys, I don't know what's wrong with my there's a disconnect between my tongue and brain tonight, so bear with me. Can you still see me okay? Is it light enough? It looks like it might be. Okay. Chapter 1, Zoe. No matter how I tried to reassure myself that seeing him again wouldn't affect me, I literally gasped at the sight of Kai staring back at me from the elevator. My eyes greedily took in every detail of him, from the tailored suit that stretched across his broad shoulders and the white button-down shirt offsetting his olive skin to the slate-colored tie that matched his eyes. His hair was shorter than I remembered. He must have cut it after the previous season ended, when player superstitions no longer mattered. The stubble along his jawline was new too, adding to his bad boy appeal. The hallway light reflected in his platinum cufflinks, my birthday present to him once upon a dream ago. He only wore them on special occasions. I could only imagine he made a statement by wearing them today. Shaking my head, I pushed back the emotions threatening to break free from the cage I'd locked them in. The elevator doors closed, and I realized that my mouth had fallen open somewhere along the line and that I had been staring the entire time. Asshole. Flynn's mumbled curse brought me out my trip down memory lane. I forgot he was standing next to me. I frowned. You're going to have to deal with it and him. We have no choice. You don't say, Flynn growled. I hated Flynn's dark side. It rarely emerged until Kai Connery came up in conversation. Even then, I didn't like the person he turned into when it happened. I flashed him a warning look. That's why my father called this meeting with Joe, as he put it, so we are all on the same page. You know he's with her, don't you? My mood tanked further. I understand Jesse and Kyle were in autumn. How could I miss it when every tabloid and talk show plastered their faces on every headline? State the obvious, Flynn, I snapped. I hit the elevator button in frustration and the bell dinged. As soon as we ascended, Flynn pinned me to the elevator wall, pressing me into his large body. His hands snaked around my waist and drew me close. Tell me you aren't thinking of him, he whispered in my ear. I pushed him away in a huff. Tell me you aren't thinking of her. Fire flared in his deep blue eyes. I knew that look. Anger. Anger. Pure and simple. Flynn did his best fucking when he was in this mood. Though I doubted it was me he wanted to fuck, I pushed that revolting thought out of my head. It would inevitably bring images of, I swear this is driving me crazy. It would inevitably bring images of Kai and Jesse to mind, and my heart lurched at that thought. We're both liars, Zoe. Flynn smashed his mouth against mine in a punishing kiss. A deep groan rumbled from his throat as his body pressed into mine. I liked every minute of his brutal assault. My body responded to his as I let passion take over. My worries vanished momentarily, exactly what I needed to needed to not to fall into Killen Connery's trap again. My arms wrapped around Flynn's neck, and I ran my hand through his downy hair. He coaxed my lips open as his tongue fucked mine relentlessly. His hand cupped the curve of my breast. I leaned into him, loving the feel of his large hand as he squeezed me. Pleasure pulled between my thighs as his other hand kneaded my ass. His erection pressed against my belly, sending me over the edge. I hiked my leg up around his waist to bring us closer. I wanted to throw caution to the wind and have Flynn screw me senseless. I couldn't care less that we were in the elevator on the brink of arrival. I just needed him to make me forget and take away the hurt. Our moment of recklessness abandoned came to a screeching halt when the elevator stopped at the executive floor and the doors slid open. Much to my horror, my father, Kai, and Joe caught an eyeful. My face flushed crimson. Flynn, on the other hand, was grinning from ear to ear as he swaggered his confident ass into the corridor with my lipstick smeared all over his mouth. My father glared something fierce as I scurried after Flynn in what was my longest walk of shame to date. We headed for my father's private office. The door shut, and I remembered to breathe. Flynn tried to grab my ass, but I slapped his hand away. He'd had his alpha male display. I walked over to the bar and poured vodka into a crystal tumbler, downing it in a single go. The searing liquid burned all the way into my gut and warmed my insides. I needed the liquid courage to face the firing squad. A little early for liquor, isn't it, Zoe? His disapproving voice cut through the short respite of my intended buzz. Kai stood in the doorway with a stern look on his beautiful face. Even in my light-headed state, his sheer presence took my breath away. Back off, Connery, Flynn said with a foul glare. Both of you stop acting like jackasses, Joe grumbled. This isn't some locker room pissing contest. He turned and looked at me. Zoe, a word, please. Joe motioned to me to follow him. I bit my lip. Joe rarely used profanity. He must be pissed. Hurried steps led me down the trail of my short, bespectacled boss as he marched into the outer office. The overhead lights illuminated his bald spot. I was secretly grateful Molly, my father's executive assistant, was at lunch. I didn't need an audience witnessing my humiliation. Joe turned to me with a concerned look on his face. His light blue eyes swept over me with an almost parental concern. His expression held wisdom, intelligence, and compassion. Even though I was in trouble, I couldn't ask for a better boss. He thrusted his hands into his pockets. His trousers had seen better days, having the odd discoloration here and there. He wore them daily along with the Otter's official polo shirt with a teal blue logo of an otter breaking a hockey stick in half. Zoe, have a seat. I sat down in Molly's chair and quietly admired the lavishly decorated office with its thick Abusian carpets, dark inlaid bookcases of rich mahogany, and a massive desk. The maroon leather sofa and its two wing chairs to match separated a low coffee table topped with sports magazines. A well-stocked coffee bar occupied the entirety of the opposite wall. Another perk of working for the Otters. The remaining walls were lined with inspirational posters, courtesy of my father, who was a big Tony Robbins fan to the point where he had decided that everybody on the management team had to attend one of Tony's motivational retreats annually. Even I wasn't exempt. Joe paced back and forth in front of me. He then stopped and faced me with a deep frown lining his brow. We have a problem. That was an understatement. Joe took his responsibilities toward his staff seriously. My eyebrows knitted together, waiting for the bombshell to drop. Joe, just tell me. I told your father this trade would be a big mistake. I huffed. You're not telling me anything I don't already know. I feel like I'm living someone else's nightmare. That's not the half of it, Zoe. I came across some information that is very disturbing of a personal nature. Joe's pacing made me antsy. My nerves were shot from lack of sleep, and the man in the next office. Sweat dotted his forehead. He dabbed his temples with a handkerchief. Zoe, you and Kai were played big time. I don't understand. What are you trying to say? What I'm saying is, Kai showed up to the church 3 years ago. I am speechless as my mind tried to grapple Joe's words. I don't understand. What about the text he'd sent? Tears filled my eyes as fresh pain swept through me. Why did the memories hurt so bad still? I had my suspicions for some time now. It involved Jessie Ward and Kai's mother, Vivian. For God's sake, Joe, what did they do? I wailed. For God's sake, Joe, what did they do? Let me get into this a little bit, y'all. All right, time for the night. Woo-wee. Okay. There. That's better. Okay. For God's sake, Joe, what did they do? Guy didn't send the text canceling the wedding. Jessie did. The truth bomb exploded dead in my face. I felt I was about to fall off my chair, numb and collateral damage. Get Kai in here right now, I wailed. Joe gave a curt nod and vanished out the door. I stared blankly out the window. I couldn't believe this was happening. I had been betrayed but not by the person I'd been holding responsible. I sat stunned in silence, trying to wrap my brain around the fiasco that had destroyed my life. A few moments later, Kai approached me. His face was filled with concern. I grabbed his hand for support, too thrown to form a coherent sentence. Instead, a sob escaped me, then another. Kai knelt beside me. I fell into his arms and started weeping uncontrollably. Jesus, Joe, what happened? Kai asked as he held me tightly. I don't know how to tell you this, Kai, but your mother and Jessie sent a text to Zoe saying you couldn't go through with the wedding. Zoe didn't leave you at the altar. You both were duped so the wedding wouldn't take place. I'm sorry. I thought you both needed to know the truth. Kai's voice descended to a mere whisper. Who told you this? Let's just say your girlfriend doesn't know how to keep secrets when she's had one too many. She got wasted at the local club and spilled the whole thing to some paparazzi. A friend of mine at TMZ got wind of the story. He told me it's going to break tomorrow. Does Jed know? He asked as he heaved a sigh. Not yet. I thought you two should know first. Jed despises the tabloids. I can only imagine what seeing his daughter's name dragged through the mud is going to do to him. At any rate, the media is going to have a field day with this. I'll survive this since I'm used to the tabloids, but Zoe doesn't deserve this shit. Kai, what is going to happen? I asked. Joe handed me a tissue. Kai's jaw clenched, and his eyes flared with anger. His tan hand sought my face as if he was seeking answers neither of us had. Why would his own mother and my best friend betray us like that? My stomach started to churn. I sprinted to the ladies' bathroom and barely made it in time. Knees on the cold floor, I retched until I had nothing left. I didn't know Kai had followed me until I turned to move out of the stall. His face was etched with worry. He moved back to allow me to pass. I rinsed my mouth while he handed me a towel. Thanks. As I wiped my lips clean, I caught him watching me intently in the mirror. Our reflection depicted all the torment, longing, and sadness of the past 3 years. A glimmer of love shone through, too. Penny, for your thoughts? I asked, careful smile on my lips. Today would have been our 3rd wedding anniversary. I closed my eyes and gripped the basin for support. When I opened them again, Kai was nowhere to be seen. Kai. I couldn't bear to see Zoe staring at me with such sadness in her eyes. It nauseated me to my core. I couldn't believe Jessie and my mother would pull such a cruel stunt. I had no words, nor had I any idea where to go from here. In the short span of time, the one person I thought betrayed me was a victim along with Flynn. Jesus, the whole thing was beyond reasoning. I walked past a surprised Molly Emerson straight into Jed Simmons' office. I entered the glass and steel office with his panoramic view of downtown San Jose. Jed had his back to me. He was staring out the window, lost in thought. Jed Simmons was old school and one tough son of a bitch. Growing up in Erie, PA, and I know it's Pennsylvania, so just hush. In the middle of the Rust Belt, he played hockey in the minor leagues but never got called up to the NHL. After an inquiry sideline, this is going to be the end of the chapter, y'all. I'm just saying that. After an injury sidelined him, he did a natural progression and became an assistant coach to the Erie Miners. In his fourth year with them, he got promoted to head coach and brought the Stanley Cup back to his hometown. After that, he was able to write his own ticket anywhere in the NFL. Thanks to an exorbitant inheritance and recruitment by the San Jose Otters, he served as their GM for 2 years. Then Jed purchased a majority ownership in the club. Since he didn't have a son, Zoe was being groomed to take his place, or at least she was when we were together. Who knew now? I cleared my throat. Did Joe bring you up to speed? Some players were easily intimidated by Jed, but not me. We had roughly the same height and build. We could never look down on one another. I learned long ago Jed preferred straight talk and no bullshit. That was his mantra. He did. Jed turned to face me. He ran his hand through his hair, now peppered with silver. His green-eyed scowl did nothing to alleviate the situation. He wore the same attire as Joe Wharton, khakis and a teal blue Otters polo, though unlike our GM, Jed was remarkably fit for his age. He exuded the aura of an ex-athlete. I'd seen him work out twice as hard as some of the rookies who grumbled about training off the ice. Jed led by example in all areas of his life. It's going to get ugly, I told him. Not if I have anything to say about it. I'm not going to allow those parasites to drag my daughter through the mud because of her girlfriend and mother. Because of your girlfriend and mother. With all due respect, Jed, Zoe and I were both cheated. I wanted to add more, but the weight of guilt lay heavily on my shoulders. What had I missed back then? Were there clues I'd turned a blind eye to? My mother had always been involved in my life and my career. When my early coaches announced I had a future in hockey, she jumped on board and managed me every step of the way until I made it to the big leagues. I couldn't blame her. She struggled like most single parents, but she had higher aspirations, and I was her golden parachute. Her role as mother turned into full-time manager. That was how I had come to call her by her first name. My mother ceased to exist while Vivian played the role of manager to perfection. No one would have guessed we were mother and son beyond our last name. Apparently, when I met and fell in love with Zoe, I must have derailed her plans somehow, and now here I was taking the blame for her misdeeds, not to mention Jessie's. Being blindsided by the two people I trusted most in the world left me hollow and devoid of reason. The worst part was the realization Zoe hadn't betrayed me. I blinked back tears. I knew Vivian now never approved of Zoe, but I brushed it off as simple maternal jealousy. Now I wasn't so certain my mother and Jessie didn't have ulterior motives. I know, Jed said. He cursed softly under his breath and stalked over to the wet bar where he splashed some amber liquid into 2 crystal tumblers, handing me one. I normally didn't drink during training or the season, but I made an exception today. I sniffed the 25-year-old Macallan whiskey, which was meant to be sipped, but I poured it down my throat in one shot. The searing whiskey left a burning trail down to my gut. It fortified me to deal with the aftermath of the nightmare about to be unleashed in the press and put the entire Otters organization under the microscope. Knowing you, Jed, I reckon you have a plan. You would be correct. We are going to put up a united front. You and Zoe are going to be seen together, and you and Austin will bury the hatchet. We've had enough bad blood between the two of you. You will be reinstated as team captain, and Austin will fall in line. If not, I have my lawyer standing by to reevaluate personnel assets and their viability. Jed's meaning was clear. Do his bidding or our contracts would be terminated. Cut and dry, just like Jed. He pressed the intercom. Molly, send in Miss Simmons and Mr. Austin. The door opened and a visibly upset Zoe came in, followed by something Flynn. I'm not, the way I've been screwed up words tonight, I'm not going to try that one. They both ignored me. Zoe, Flynn, have a seat. Jed waved his hand to the seating area near the bar, to the wet bar with its wing chairs and large sofa. Jed took a seat at the edge of his desk while I stood by helplessly. My focus kept shifting to Zoe despite my best intentions to block her from my thoughts. Her shoulders were hunched and her beautiful auburn hair hung in listless strands around her face. Streaks of mascara left a black trail down her pale cheeks. The truth had knocked the life out of her. She and Flynn sat down on opposite ends of the couch, not offering the other as much as a glance. Austin, I take it you've been informed of the situation? Yeah, boss, I heard. Flynn cut Zoe a look, then back to Jed. His blue eyes darted nervously between Jed and me. Flynn cracked his knuckles absent-mindedly, a nervous habit he had acquired before a big game or when he was nervous. He certainly dressed better than he did when we hung out. Expensive slacks and a matching cashmere sweater. His dress shoes all high gloss and quality leather, a far cry from the sweats and trainers he used to prefer. Dating the owner's daughter certainly put some polish on small town guy from the Midwest. Here is the deal, Austin. You're going to stop dating Zoe. I'm more than fed up with your nightly indiscretions with those puck bunnies at the club. Zoe glared at Flynn. Now wait one damn minute. Flynn sputtered, his face flushed knowing he had been caught. No, you wait one damn minute, Austin. This is why I don't do that deepest voice very often. I can't. This is not up for discussion. As I told Kai, we are all going to put on a united front until this mess blows over. Understood? You will play by my rules. As I recall, there is a non-fraternization and morality clause in your contract that my lawyers are just itching to enforce if you don't get in line and cooperate. I've turned a blind eye up to this point, but no more free rides. I'm sure your sponsors and all those lucrative endorsements you receive would drop you like a hot potato if they become aware of your less than stellar behavior on the ice. We're through, Flynn. Oh, we're through, Flynn. Enjoy your puck bunnies, Zoe snarled, slapping him across the face. What? What? Zoe? Flynn looked positively bewildered. His fingers slid along his now red cheek. He had gotten off lightly as far as I was concerned. My knuckles were itching to connect to his smug face. If it were up to me, I would have throttled the bastard. Oh, there is another thing, Austin. I'm designating Kai as team captain, and you will be required to repair your friendship with him. Not that anyone deserves your brand of friendship, real or fake. I don't really care how you two do it, but you'll make up in front of the cameras, and remember, one misstep and you're gone, Jed ordered. Asshole, I murmured under my breath. Zoe threw me an obstinate glare as she lifted her pert chin in the air. Kai, you and Zoe are going to the Silicon Valley ball tonight in my steed. See Molly for the details. That's all. We'll be there. As Jed waved us off, Flynn stormed out of the office, almost bulldozing Zoe and me aside without a word. Okay, that's it. Oh, that was good timing. Whew. Do your thing, mighty PA. Tomorrow's night is Alexandra Reed Dark Chocolate Kisses. All right, you guys probably remember the donut series. Well, now we're going through a candy store series. All right, 99 cents on all platforms or Amazon or somewhere. It's also free on KU. Whoop, whoop. What you guys think? Who knew about that curveball, huh? What? That's what I wanted to do when he went, what? What? I want to go, what? But that would have quite have been appropriate at that time, would it? All righty. Oh, it gets better? Oh, geez. I don't think I can handle much better. Nina was Trisha there? She just couldn't comment. I have a pointy tongue. It ain't very long. That's it. And you want to go up, it's even worse. See, I told you that's what was going on, didn't I? Thank you, Miss Trisha, for letting me read your book. I greatly appreciate it. It's good. All right, ladies. And if there's any gents on here, you too, I will holler at you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. And if you didn't get to see my live read earlier, go join the Foxy Fanatics and go see my live read on there of Savannah James. That was pretty good too. All righty. Everybody have a good evening. Happy reading.